Dylan Davidson, welcome to the show.
Hey man, how you doing?
I can't complain. How
Me
are you?
neither. Hey, I'm a little bit car lagged. I know jet lag's a thing, but car lag is definitely kicking my butt right now.
I think car lag is a thing. You know, we drove like 7 hours today.
Yeah, and like what, 3 days ago?
Yeah, we've driven a lot of miles in the last 2 days for the show, but it's always a good time when I see you.
It's been a long time since we've really connected. I know you came to the show a couple months ago in Chicago, but it's good to see you not in a really loud room where there's a band playing and I can actually hear you.
Also, like seeing you, that's like not work.
Yeah,
too.
really.
But because we've been friends for a long time. It's been what, since 2020, 2021?
2020, yeah.
I think I reached out to you like at the end of 2020, if I remember correctly.
When we were babies.
When we were babies. Life
I
was
had a
lot
baby
different back
face.
then.
I still have a baby face.
A little bit,
we're not gonna
but
talk
definitely
about
had a baby face back then.
I can grow a 6 stash now. I couldn't back then.
Okay, I want to kind of just like hop into things because I wanted to talk to you specifically just because me and Cyrus have both talked about specifically our phones a lot. And we've just talked about how your phone just really makes time pass really quickly. And there's just kind of all other problems that come along with your phone.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who has basically built their entire life on their phone,
Yeah.
how do you feel about your phone?
I hate my phone. I hate that I have to. Well, it's a weird relationship because sometimes it's healthy and sometimes it could be damaging. I think I've grown to use it more as a tool instead of relying on it so much, and that's something me and my team talk about a lot because I can get so in my head about social media and apps like TikTok where I'm always promoting, trying to post, every day, if not every other day. Posting different videos of different things, sometimes about a song, sometimes it's just like a random, something showing a little personality. But like it's hard not to equate that to work and try to just enjoy it. And something I've really been learning recently being with my friend Avery, who I just got off tour with, Avery Anna. Shout out Avery. She's really helped me understand not to make it a job and really use it as a tool, use it as like something I enjoy doing. Because when I started, that's why I started it, because I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed making stupid videos that people would talk about, share, and it ended up becoming something so utilized by everybody in the music industry, everybody in every industry. And I'm just finding that balance now, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, you just said, that's how you started and stuff. Take me back to those early days. Because if I remember correctly, you blew up first just like on TikTok, kind of like in the early stages of TikTok, like kind of like in that Charlie D'Amelio era.
Right, when it was like your friends at school were like, I'm not on TikTok. I'm never downloading that app.
Yeah, when TikTok had like the really cringe ads.
Yeah, no, it was. I was even kind of being like, no, I'm not doing TikTok nowadays. When I totally was just trying to. I don't know. I didn't really have like a format. I didn't have a plan. I was just uploading to upload, and I think people like that. And that was back when TikTok didn't have as many users. I mean, it's so diluted now. The activity on there and the community. There's just so many people using the app now. It's like the biggest app in the world probably. I don't know the numbers, but I jumped on it when, like I said, there weren't too many people, and when I would post random stuff, I'd wake up the next day after posting a video and it would have hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm like, it's crazy. I don't even know, probably 5,000 people. And now all these people are seeing my face, and it was jarring for like a 17-year-old because I had to just go to school and everybody saw that video. And then people would start poking fun, but it was all in good fun. It never got like really harmful. I don't know. It turned into a different beast completely. It got crazy there for a minute, but
yeah. Did it ever start to really mess with you mentally?
I remember I was on the soccer team. I was not great. Do not go look up highlights because they don't exist. There might be lowlights out there somewhere. But I remember playing soccer and like the other team's bench yelling that I was a TikTok boy or whatever. And it never got to me. I never really cared. because I grew up, I'm an only child. I didn't have any siblings. I honestly didn't have too many friends other than my dog. And I just grew up in my room, these four walls, and it's just me. So I never really cared about anything else other than what was going on in my immediate life. I didn't really care if people were making fun. I grew up in theater, and I'd hear stuff about being a theater kid all the time. You know, people trying to make jabs. But it never got to me because I just didn't care. Those words had no weight to them. So when the TikTok thing came about and I started gaining a little traction, it just never hurt. I don't know if I have thick skin or just a mindset. I just grew to not care.
But kind of looking at it on the flip side, obviously, you know, there's like kind of like two components of the whole social media game and stuff. There's the one side of like people messing with you, people making fun of you, people, you know, just being who they are on the internet. But there's also like kind of like the personal battle of you're constantly like kind of like striving and craving this kind of dopamine hit you get from the feedback loop of posting something and it goes crazy viral and all that. Was that ever a factor for you as well?
I never got nervous until I started posting singing videos.
Really?
I didn't care about showing my personality because I knew it was authentic. And I knew that I can't change my authenticity and I shouldn't dampen it. But then when I posted one singing video. It was a cover of Chanel by Frank Ocean. It was probably absolutely terrible.
I know that video, yeah.
Do not go look for it because I think I was like 16 or 17. And I didn't even I'd been in musical theater, but I'd never really experimented with the singing side as much as I did with acting. I was completely in love and enthralled with acting. I never really looked into the vocal aspect. So when I posted that, I was so nervous. And anytime I'd get a hate comment, there'd be hundreds of amazing comments, people being incredible, and it was a blessing to receive those. But then, you know, you tend to focus on the stuff that is negative more than the positive. There'd be 100 positive comments, and then that one that just gets to you for some reason. And I've never understood why that is. Maybe because, I don't know, maybe you have this like image in your head and it doesn't go the way it does, or this way it's supposed to pan out, and it kind of goes awry, and you're like, why? Why is that?
I think we're also kind of just like hardwired for negativity too. Like we're hardwired to almost kind of sense out the conflict in anything. We can't ever just be satisfied with what is good.
Right.
So with singing now being your thing, how do you handle those negative comments now?
You know, before I was making the music I'm making now and had the sound I have now, when I was a little less secure about who I was as an artist, I had to turn my phone off at night. I had to, as soon as I posted a video, I was so nervous about the comments that would come in. I just had to turn my phone off and not look at it. But now that I've kind of found my sound, I've found my music, and people are receiving it well, it doesn't bother me as much because I know what I bring to the table. And I think that's like the most important thing you need to realize is what you bring to the table. And as long as it's your best and most authentic form of product, then there's nothing to be ashamed about. Like, if somebody doesn't receive it well, it doesn't mean it's bad. I don't know. You just can't let it stop you in your tracks. You've got to keep going.
Kind of going back a little bit to what I said earlier, you know, there's like those kind of like two factors like going to social, like there's kind of like the outside noise, but there's also kind of like this inside personal noise. And like, did you ever catch yourself like kind of being money hungry, but not towards money, but for just like attention and views?
Oh yeah. So what was that, 2019 or so, when TikTokers started becoming a thing and people were joining houses, people made these like communities out in LA, and I could tell then it was really becoming more about the drive to get to the point where everybody was talking about you and you were a hot topic, you were a hot search. Your name would just start, even being tagged in a video, somebody talking about you might do good just because you're tagged in it. And then you would chase that, or you were talked about and you would chase that, and making your name more known, more broad with your community, became like the entire thing. And then like that became so damaging to younger people, that whole era of TikTokers blowing up and then having all this money, which granted I did not I did not get that part. There were people that got all the money and all the, I don't know, attention way more than me. But it became like, it was weird. It was a weird time in the world where our values weren't really tested like that yet. Nobody had their values straight. They were all in high school. Some of these bigger TikToks in 2019 were 16, 15 years old, and they're getting all this attention out of nowhere. And there's older people reaching out, trying to get them to come out to their leased house and pair them up with this person or this person. And it was all inauthentic, and it was like, at some points it got dark. Like some people got really reeled into it.
Yeah, I guess there's a real kind of danger to other people being able to form an opinion about you before you have the ability to form an opinion about yourself.
Exactly. It caused it was like a sickness that was going on for a while when it was brand new, back before anybody knew how to navigate it. And I had friends then that it was all happening to. And I've never seen such emotionally distressed people, some of these guys. And then it would like create weird relationships where you'd see two people blowing up on TikTok, or two TikTokers that had formed a relationship, say platonic or not, and it was completely fake, completely fabricated. Yeah. And it was just for the views. And I mean, having that when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, having those fake relationships and not real life authenticity. I hate to keep using that word, but it was a real lack of authenticity back in those years.
You don't even really have a chance to achieve that, to form that in your own life.
Right. I mean, it was all hitting some people so quick. It didn't hit me as hard because I stayed at home. I didn't move. There were a couple of people asking me to move to LA. There were promoters reaching out, but I never took that jump because I wanted to stay at home and make content and not make it my sole thing. I wanted to stick to school and just play golf and grow up with my buddies and just like not have that life. I don't know. It just wasn't catered to me.
You just like, you didn't feel any pressure really to leave?
Not until I really got deep into one friend group, and those people are amazing. And I'm not talking bad about anybody. It would sometimes become the center of the friend group, and it would you could tell that I was driving the relationships more than the real connections. And that can be super scary because you're like, is this person in it because I'm doing well on TikToks, my videos are doing well, or do they really want to get to know me and really want to form a long-lasting connection with me? Or are they using? You just never knew. It was like chameleons everywhere. It was a weird time, really weird time.
Do you think that there's merit to being in a place filled with all of those, I guess, influencers or just other people doing the thing? Or do you think that you had almost like a advantage of staying where you were in your own space? And
well, I think everybody's road in life is completely different, and how they approach it is unique to them. Some people may have been called to go out to Los Angeles, someplace they'd never been, someplace where there's a lot of money and there's a lot of intrigue and there's lust and there's greed and there's a bunch of stuff that could really, really harm you, and people didn't know that. These kids didn't know that. They were just being like, Mom, Dad, please let me go. But there's also nothing wrong with finding people around you in your town or in your surrounding states and not having to pack your bags and go somewhere else, which I think is more popular now with bigger TikTokers. They just, I don't know. It's not like a thing where you have to go out to LA now. It's kind of just like, it's healthier now. I think we got through that weird go to LA, blow up as an LA creator phase that we were in.
Oh, interesting. So you think that now it's easier to kind of stay where you are
Yeah.
versus back in the day you had to go to LA.
Yeah. I think that crowd's more mature, and the people that went through that, we've grown and we've all been like, oh, okay, let's leave that. Let's leave that back in 2019, 2020. And it just feels better to just like make videos with your friends at home, make a video in bed talking about whatever. You know, TikTok videos are so, there's no construct anymore. Back then you had to go meet with this person, film a dance, which I never did. I was never like a dancer, TikToker. I had people people would come up to me and ask me to do a dance. I'm like, I don't, you don't want to dance with me. I cannot dance. But yeah, I think it was just a weird phase that we've, thank goodness, gotten out of.
Was there ever a moment where you actually like felt famous?
Yeah, I went to this one, I remember, oh man, this was a funny time. It was actually here in Nashville. We did this one meet and greet type event. It was just a weekend long thing. And I was with, like I said, I won't name any names, but I was with a bunch of the bigger TikTokers at the time. And there was so much drama going on that weekend. That was more drama than I've ever seen. It was like they made reality shows, some of these people, and it was good on them because they were obviously made for it. But sometimes drama just crept in, and it was inevitable with these young kids. You know, you give them a little bit of, you know, just something like to run with, and
so much like power and money for someone that age.
Yeah, it was. Of course, they're gonna somehow not know how to use it. Just kind of goes awry. But I remember that event. It was crazy. That was the first time people would come up to me. They'd hand me bracelets that they made, or they'd show me pictures that they'd taken with me when they ran into me at the mall, or when I answered a comment, when I responded back, when I liked a video they tagged me in. They'd like tell me they remember these things. And I was just like so touched by it. Now I love when that happens with music, when people come up to me and tell me that my song got them through something, or it really brings back memories, or it's nostalgic or anything. What I really want to do with music now is create songs that are nostalgic for people a year or two from now, when they think about the times they were in and what they were listening to just to get through it. Because that's what I did with music. That's what everybody does with music. They kind of, it's like a playlist to your life, right? I have 100 different playlists on my phone, and sometimes I go back and I'm like, oh, I remember this season of life where I made this playlist, and it's just so many memories. But yeah, I want to attribute to memories. That's kind of cool.
So you blew up on TikTok, but you were making a different kind of content than singing at the time.
Right. I started off just making stupid videos like everybody else. Not dancing videos, but I'd be at school and just make it's so stupid. People pull up my old videos and I'm like, oh gosh, please turn them off. These are crazy. But the most success hit when I was making singing videos in the car.
I was about to say, I remember you singing like in the car.
Yeah, my car karaoke, I used to call them. That was the most attention I ever got in that period. That was like a year-long run for those videos. Kind of want to do those again. Those are fun. But that was my healthiest place that I was in with TikTok, because I had just discovered that people would tune in when I'd open my mouth and I'd sing, and I was so shy about it at first, and feeling that growth kind of spreading my wings and allowing something to grow from it felt really good. And a lot of people would tell me that they were inspired to make singing videos, make cover videos, or write their own songs, you know? And that's what kept me going. Cause I felt not like an influencer, but somebody that was influencing growth in other people. Like a true influencer. Not just somebody that's, you know, shaking their butt on camera. But yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about how people use music as a way to kind of, it's like different playlists of different times of life.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, I feel like you even had that in your own music yourself, where it's kind of different genres, different sounds. How have you navigated that?
Dude, sometimes driving over here, I live 3 hours away, but I'm from Knoxville, so anytime I need to be in town, I'll drive that. It's not that bad, 3 hours, but I'll take the drive all the way down the highway, listening to my old stuff, my old discography, like every song I've ever put out, even on the ones on SoundCloud that are privated. I'll go through and shuffle them, and it just takes me back to where I was when I wrote those songs and how important they were for me and my growth. And I remember putting my very first song out on SoundCloud in high school when I was 16. It's like a minute-long song, and I'd go to school the next day, and then I didn't get much hate. Like, there were some kids that were like, "What are you doing?" Like, you hear SoundCloud rappers around school, and people are like, "What are you doing? Just give that up. Don't give it up. Don't ever give up because somebody's telling you to." Because if I had listened, I wouldn't be where I am. But I'd go to school and people would be like, "When's your next one?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I haven't written the next one. I wrote that 2 days ago and I just threw it on SoundCloud." So then I really started diving in. And when I listen to those songs now, it's so cool. It's like a little memory shelf on SoundCloud where I can just go back and kind of time travel for a second. It's cool.
Okay, I know I keep harping on this, so I probably will move on a little bit. I'm just so interested in just like the whole blowing up on TikTok, having all this attention surrounding you and stuff. And I know at one point you said that when your music started to really take off, you were getting a lot of attention from a lot of big names. I remember you telling me some crazy names of people who were like DMing you and stuff. How do you not like get lost in the sauce and all that? Like, how do you not just kind of like lose yourself in just you're getting all this attention and all these people are DMing you and stuff?
I did for a little bit, and then I was like, if they're noticing it, I was thinking about the kids that don't have a platform that were noticing it and how important it must be for them. Because if these bigger names are reaching out to me, and they were, some people I really looked up to for years, and still do. But if they're noticing it, what about that kid that was like me, who didn't have many people to talk to, and was just locking themselves in their bedroom and throwing my song on repeat over and over and over again, which I would get DMs about that all the time. And honestly, those types of DMs really stuck with me more, because that's what I really care about. It reminds me of myself when I was, listening to these songs over and over and over again, and just being like, just indulging myself, just throwing myself in my own little world, and being able to just sink down and have something contribute to me and build me and feed my soul. So being that, my songs being that for somebody else is the whole goal, I think, is what I chase the most.
And then I know at some point you had to step away, and I think it was kind of post that whole like you doing the meet and greets and being around all those TikTokers and like all that stuff.
After, yeah.
Walk me through that season of life.
Well, like I was saying before, some relationships, my closest relationships, people that I trusted the most and had amazing bonds with, I could see it negatively affecting them, and then it would negatively affect our relationship. And since then, we've grown, and we've all realized what a crazy time that was and how we all could have maybe navigated that better. So when I really saw that, it really, really threw me into this negative headspace where I didn't even want to post anymore. I stepped away for like 6 months from even posting because I saw somebody very, very close to me go to LA and, really experiment with that crowd. And I don't know, lost a lot of people in that season that didn't expect to lose. But since then, years go by and people grow, and you realize everybody's just going through life for the first time, and everybody's making their own mistakes for the first time, and you can't expect everybody to make decisions based on your own mental being at all times, because people are going to slip up. People aren't perfect. But yeah, I stepped away for a little bit because I thought it was getting toxic to my mental and to my own heart. It was getting damaging. So I decided to remove myself for a little bit, and then I came back and really just made it about sharing my personality and my music, not as much as trying to build a community and feed off of great relationships, which it's rare. It's rare to find people on social media that want to authentically grow and grow with you instead of trying to one-up you. Sure. There was a lot of that. A lot of people, using for views. And when the views were low, they would kind of kick you to the curb for a little bit or forget about you, not hit your phone anymore. So it was important for me to find the people that obviously weren't doing that. And I still have those people around today, like the people that I could tell really wanted to know me for me and hang out with me for me and not just make videos. And those were great lessons. I think we all took great lessons from that era on how to navigate relationships the correct way.
So if you're seeing all these people that are growing a lot and they're doing that thing where they're using you for views, and when the views aren't coming, suddenly you're not relevant anymore and that type of thing, how does that not kind of make you step away completely? Like, how do you come back from that? Did that feel like an uphill battle to come back? Or
2020 was a crazy year for everybody. A lot of crazy things happened for me that year, great and bad. I lost one of my best friends, took their own life that year. And I remember thinking like, wow, there's so many bigger things than followers and fake people on social media and things that I shouldn't be chasing when there's things I should be chasing here. And that's when I really started leaning into the music and just posting about the music. So I tried to grow more of a healthy relationship between just me and my followers and the people that wanted to be there and wanted to listen to what I had to say, what I had to sing, the songs I had to write. And I found community in that rather than finding people that were also trying to do the same thing as me. Because I just had to step away for a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. But now it's cool because I'm finding people in the music industry that are wanting to write with me and wanting to duet with me on certain songs. And it's like I'm finding great relationships again in a community with music instead of like social media as much, which is cool.
And then, if I remember correctly, so you stepped away once, and then you started posting again, and started getting traction, but then you had to step away again because you had to take care of your dad.
Yeah.
How hard was that? That has to be just incredibly difficult.
So my dad always dealt with heart disease since I think he was diagnosed when he had just had me right before in his 40s. And in 2022, he got put on the heart transplant list, and it was like that. And within a month, he got a heart. And I remember just being like, I need to stop everything and just focus on this. No posting, no anything. And I had just signed my first label record deal with some great guys out in California who I'm no longer with anymore, but they contributed so much to my growth, and they were great. They let me kind of be there for Dad, because I had signed the contract right before Dad got his call or got put on that list. And so I was like, they're going to drop me and I'm going to have to completely quit music. But luckily that didn't happen. They kind of gave me the time to sit with Dad and to take care of him here in Nashville at Vanderbilt. But that was the most trialing season in recent years that I can remember since 2020, because it let me slow down. And while Dad was in therapy and right after the surgery where he had to stay in the hospital, we had to stay here for 3 months, and I was just alone. And I felt like that aloneness that I did when I was younger. And when I picked up the guitar for the first time and started writing my own stuff when I was 16. And I would go down here to the park at what's that park? The park where the Parthenon is. Oh, what's the name of that park? Centennial. I would go down to Centennial Park. I remember going to the Guitar Center, and I bought this Breedlove acoustic guitar. It was like the cheapest one I could find, but it was also a beautiful guitar, super small body. And I would just go to the park every single day alone, sit under a tree, and just try and be present in that again. Be present in that aloneness, because when you sit down and you're quiet and you just allow yourself to be alone and be present and feel everything you're needing to feel in that moment, that's when I really realized what songwriting was what songwriting was about. Because I was forced to. I had to sit there and deal with these emotions somehow, put them to paper. And that's when I really found my voice, I think. I was listening to a lot of like Gregory Alan Isakov. I was listening to Elliott Smith. I was listening to Lizzie McAlpine. I was listening to more folk indie stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was striking a chord with me. And that's what I started to lean into. I started to lean into that really vulnerable, kind of gut-wrenching stuff. And that completely shaped my sound that I have today, which is still evolving. It never stops.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite part. You looked at every song I've ever released, and they're all different. Since I was 16, and I was just writing about getting cheated on, and then now I'm writing about losing people. I'm writing about having to watch my closest family members, face death, which both my parents have, had their run-ins with terrible health complications. And I'm starting to lean more into that stuff and write about it now that I'm out of it. I can kind of look back and reflect, which is awesome.
Did you, something that me and Cyrus were talking about the other day, it's just like how much we identify our worth, at least for speaking for the males here, like we identify so much of our worth as being like providers and being able to like take care of our loved ones and stuff. Mm-hmm. Did you feel kind of, especially when your dad got sick and stuff, did you kind of feel this like pressure to make something happen?
Yeah. In every aspect. When that happened with Dad, I remember this one instance, because when he got the call, we had to up and go. We had to up and be at Vanderbilt in 2 hours because they had he had a heart transplant. And we got there, and I was still like just shaking. I remember just shaking and not being able to say anything, and he just had a smile on his face the whole time. And I was like, how can you be so strong right now? You're about to go in an 8-hour surgery, and you just got the call 2 hours ago, and we weren't expecting to get a heart this soon. And I just remember being baffled about how strong he was. They have to put this stuff on you when you're getting surgery. I don't even know what it's called, that orange stuff, before they have to shave you and put it on you. And he was getting that done to him. I was sitting there watching and holding his hand, and he just had a smile on his face. He's like, God's got me. Whatever happens, God's got me. And I remember that moment, and that really changed my heart. After that, I was like, if he can be that strong in that sense, when can I ever be weak?
Yeah.
And so now everything that I do, I kind of try to approach it with as much strength as I can, and the strength that he had in that moment kind of models that, and that's my goal at everything I do now. I was super weak in that time. That was probably the second lowest I've ever been mentally. I remember after the surgery, he didn't even look like himself, dude. He was.
Yeah, I remember.
After such a major surgery, your body starts to react, and I saw him for the first time the next day, and the nurses were like, "You might want to go in there alone." And I walked in, and I saw him like that, and I remember like there was a bathroom in there with the door, and I went in there and I closed the door, and I just broke, dude. I just broke, and I was like, I got to be strong like he was right before this. And I grabbed his hand, and I don't even know if he knows this. If he watches this, he's going to be in tears. But I remember grabbing his hand, and his face was so swollen he couldn't see me. He couldn't speak. He had a trach. But I remember grabbing his hand, and I was like, I'm so proud of you. I just want you to know I'm so proud of you. I just kept saying it over and over. And he couldn't speak. He definitely couldn't hear me, but he squeezed my hand. And that was a confirmation for me he was going to be good, and that I could be good if I'm just strong. Strong with the Lord, strong with myself. You just got to be, you have to have the willpower.
How does your faith play a role in your life?
Everything, dude. People ask me a lot, what's your testimony? And a lot of people have incredible stories. Some people have such stories that can turn other people to the faith and to Jesus. And I don't know if I have my life is full of just moments where when I did feel alone, I knew I wasn't. I didn't have anybody around me, but I had somebody with me. I knew it. I always felt it. With mom battling cancer, with dad's heart transplant, with my friend passing, like I always felt like I had somebody to turn to. And I know I've never been alone in that sense. So I just always tell people you're not alone. As much as you think you are, you're not. And there was somebody that went through it just like you did. They say why do bad things happen to good people? If, Jesus is real and God's real, why would bad things happen to good people? And I'd say the worst things happen to the best person. And he still died for us. And, we're here 2,000 years later trying to live by that example and strive for that love and that relationship with him. So there's just always somebody in your corner. And that's how I've always felt. I've never felt like I was abandoned. I always felt like somebody was right there with me.
You stepped away twice, basically, or essentially, because I remember when you were taking care of your dad, like you weren't really posting or anything like that. And it was kind of hard not to notice that obviously like your following definitely, like when you are kind of inactive, like your following started to dwindle.
Right.
Your Spotify monthly listeners were going down, TikTok followers were leaving, Instagram followers were leaving as well. Was there ever a moment where like you were seeing those numbers go down and you were like kind of panicking?
Every time. I still do it.
Really?
I mean, it's just instinctual, right? I looked today and I had 100 less followers, but I have a video that's doing really good. And I'm like, why is this happening? You just have to, the way I see it is I want people that are engaging to stay engaged, not just engage with one thing and follow me and just a couple months later down the road be like, why did I follow this guy? I want to leave an impression. So if there's people that are going to unfollow, I'd rather them unfollow now if they're not going to care. But I want the people that are following me to want to follow me for, as long as they want. I don't know. I want to build that community, and I feel like I am. There's more people reaching out now about how my music is touching them, and than I think ever, genuinely. Yeah. Like I knew some people were just shooting me DMs, but now it's really, I could tell it's authentic. It's genuine. So I'm building that core that I've always wanted.
Yeah. When did you decide to return? And, also, I feel like in probably that season of life, your dad, just had major surgery, you're taking care of him and stuff. I feel like it'd be very, very easy, and you couldn't blame anyone for doing this, but it'd be very easy for you to kind of move on from the dream and being more so like, okay, like I got to take care of the family now. Kind of like what I just said earlier is that, as men, like we tend to identify a lot with being able to provide. Why still continue to make music? Why make a return and continue to try to make this thing happen?
Ever since Dad, I've been putting out songs. They were important songs for me, and I will never regret putting out music because it shows the growth and it shows what I've been through and how my music has grown and how I've gotten better and how what I really want to say is really coming out. So I was giving up last year around this time. I got an apprenticeship as an electrician, an industrial electrician. And I got so into that, and my parents were so thrilled for me, and I was getting paid well. I was part of a union, and I was kind of every day, 5 days a week. I'd work 10 hours, sometimes 6. And I was like, I guess this is my life. But I never felt like that was the rest of my life.
Sure.
I remember being like, this is so crazy thinking about it, and I'm talking about it now, but I'd go to work every day, and I would know that one day I'm not going to have to get up and come to this cold building and do something that I know my heart's not fully in, that I wasn't called to do. I know this is just a waiting period. And for 6 months, I just knew I'd go to work. I'd do what I needed. I'd give it my all at work, even if it's not something I really wanted to do. But at the end of the day, when I laid my head down on the pillow, I'd say that prayer, just say, Lord, I know I'm just waiting on something. I'm just waiting on you to call me to go do something. And I remember back in, I guess it was August now, or September, maybe September. I don't know. But I was sitting on my front porch, and it was cold. It was a cold night. And it was the sun was setting, and the kids across the street were playing, and I could hear the birds. And for a moment, I sat there, and I just thought, I'm not going to ask for anything. I'm not going to ask for a sign that this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life. I'm just going to be thankful. And so I sat there for, who knows, it was probably an hour. And I just had a conversation where I was just thanking God. And I was like, thank you for this season. Thank you for this waiting period, because I know this period is just for growth. I know you have something for me, and I just want to thank you in advance. I want to thank you for this job I have. I want to thank you for the talents you've given me. And I sat there, and I just had that conversation. And I went inside. I remember I took a shower. I got out of the shower. I looked at my phone. And David Fanning, who you met in Chicago, had DM'd me. And he was like, I want to meet and get something going. In that meeting, I ended up signing to his record label. And that will always be something I'll remember as a lesson that I was given, I was blessed with, that I could walk away with. Because sometimes you just got to wait. You got to wait on the Lord.
And then, so I feel like now you've had a few different opportunities to kind of, make something happen. And, if you look back, like you started to get traction, you had to step away. You start posting again, you start getting traction again, you had to step away again. Was there ever a fear of this third time around of like, okay, like,
grinding, I'm meeting, the work is, I've seen it's been paying off. I just got off tour with Parmalee. Shout out Parmalee and Avery Anna. We had a month-long tour, and I was opening up for. I'd never performed in my life. I remember getting up on stage, and I was like, guys, this is gonna suck. I just want you to bear with me for the next 30 minutes and let me play my songs. And I got to the crowd, and I connected with them, and now that's all I want to do. But I've been growing in the past 4 months more than I've grown in so long, just in my craft. And forming connections with the people I feel like I need to be forming connections with, and the people that I really love. And Avery's been a great guide for me, a great person to follow in what she's told me, because she has that song with Sam Barber, Indigo, and Restless Mind. 2 great songs, by the way. But she's seen massive success so quick. And she's got the most straight head on her shoulders. She's just somebody that's a mentor to me, and she's been kind of telling me what to expect, how to go about it. And it's just like I want to be like her in the way that when stuff gets presented to you or all of a sudden something happens and you know how to deal with it in a healthy way. She's done great with it, and she's going to continue to. And I hope we have a song coming out soon that I hope people hear and open their ears to and really love. But right now it's just I'm grinding so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Where I don't have another season where I have to wait as long, as hard. I'd be preferred not to, but you never know. I'm just grateful for where I am now because I feel like it's all led up to here. Yeah. I don't feel like anything's happened that really shouldn't have happened. I think it's all in good timing.
So earlier you were talking about writing music and how that almost requires some patience and being in a, not necessarily a slower state, but just allowing for those emotions to process and come to you.
Right.
How do you do that now with life being a lot more chaotic and it's like this go mode in a sense where you've been building and growing so fast?
It's easier to tap in to when I'm writing. It's easier to tap in to what I'm trying to say now because I had those experiences where I really had to slow down and dig deep and sit with it. Now I know how. I'll have a terrible day and I'll go home and I'll just be like, all right, Dylan, you know what you need to do. Lock yourself in your room, turn your phone off, and just sit there and feel it. And that's really my process. Everybody kind of does it differently. Like when me and Avery are in the writing room, it's funny. I'd never written with anybody before. And the first time I was really writing with another artist was with Avery. And she had all these great ideas she was just like throwing out there. And I was like, this is so different than what I'm used to doing, which is just sitting and being silent. And when something comes to me, I write it down. But we kind of we learn to use our differences to an advantage with writing. And we've got some good stuff. We have we wrote 3 songs together. One she's on, and 2 it's just me, but she helped co-write. But I wasn't sure how I would feel about co-writing at first because that's scary, allowing somebody else to come in and, throw out things that they're feeling that I may necessarily not be. But then it was like creating one body of work that is relatable and is like something somebody can take with them. Creating stuff that people can take from and attribute it to their own lives. It was scary it not being completely mine sometimes, but if it molds well and the writers are molding well and you can really make something beautiful, which is really cool. I'd never experienced that before until recently.
You've brought Avery up a good bit, and you've kind of talked about like how impactful she is, and she's kind of playing like that mentor role for you. How important do you think it is to have someone like that in your life in terms of someone who can kind of be that kind of North Star kind of guiding light and someone you can kind of really learn and be able to just apply to your own life in that way?
I think it's a blessing to have. I wouldn't say go chase for it. I would say let it come to you, because when I had to be alone and I didn't have that, I learned to do it just working through it by myself. But if you have that in front of you, don't let it go. Not saying that, me and Avery won't be writing in the future or anything. Who knows how long we work together. But just while you have it, cater it and nurture it, and let it grow, and don't take it. Don't let it pass by, Yeah. Take advantage of it while you have it. Like any growth, whether it be, at your daily job, whether it be just anything where you could take from somebody else and be like, okay, I can really grow from just their growth, right? I can learn from their experiences and the lessons they've learned. It's just, I feel like that's what we're here to do. Like, that's the whole point, right? Like, we weren't created to be alone.
Yeah.
We were created to form community, to form friendships. And that comes with sometimes losing that stuff. And that's just part of it. But you gotta nurture it while you've got it, and you gotta take advantage of it while you've got it, and not let it by.
Yeah, and also like I mean, obviously you're just around a lot of pretty big people. You're around Parmalee, Avery Anna, you know, David, your manager now. Like he's a pretty big deal, like on his own right, because he just has so many connections and stuff.
Incredible writer, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he would be ticked at me if I didn't mention how many number ones he's written. But he's such a good writer, and he's an amazing producer, and he's another mentor for me. I mean, he took a leap with me, being the first artist on the label that he started. But he really saw something in me, and he told me that he's seen some of himself in me. He's seen, because he's been Avery's manager since she was young.
Yeah.
And he said he sees a lot of the same, I don't know, story, the same path that he had with Avery, with me. And we just work really well together. And I've worked with people where, we were working, but were we connecting well? I've been with producers where, sometimes it just doesn't click.
Yeah.
But every time we're working together, it clicks. And I think I want to keep that,
Yeah.
That's what you got to keep around you.
But so yeah, you're around like all these people and stuff. Do you ever catch yourself like comparing yourself to them and kind of getting down bad that you're not in that place that they are currently? Like I feel like it could potentially be very easy to look at all these people and see how successful they are and the amount of attention they're getting and all that stuff, and you're like, oh, like why am I not there already?
Right.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from the early TikTok days where that was happening with my own friend group. And I'd sit there and I'd be like, wow, their videos are doing really good, mine aren't. I was doing the comparison game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like getting really down about it. But then I'd see other people doing the same exact thing, and I'd be like, why are they letting it get to them? I was like, why am I letting it get to me? It's all I could do is what I can do. And you got to be happy for other people's success and be like, that's really awesome. I hope that happens to me. If it doesn't, it wasn't meant for me. I think it's just kind of taking what you're given and not really expecting anything else.
Yeah.
Just let what comes to you not go by you, which I don't think you can do. I don't think you can miss anything that wasn't for you, right? So, yeah.
I'm curious. So you've done the whole thing of like kind of growing on your own through social media. And now you've gotten to a point where you have like your friend David and you're on his label and you have these mentors in your life now. I'm curious your perspective on it, because there's something to be said about the social media age now where people can grow and do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously you've seen a big change in how quickly your perspective can change, and you can grow from being around, having a more of a stronger support system around you
Mm-hmm.
that is also in the industry. Do you think that that's necessary?
Yes. And no. Like, I see people blowing up okay. I said I wasn't going to name drop, but I watched this one kid. His name's Joshua Sloan, and he's so talented in his own sense, and he's so powerful just being himself. And he'll just post videos of him just sitting there playing his guitar, and his whole page is just his own stuff, and sometimes he'll post a cover. But it's like, does he need that stuff? Who knows? That's up to him. But sometimes it's like, all people want is you, and what you can give. Now, if you have other things, if there's other things that you're weaker in some aspects, seek, some sort of mentorship or help or anything, teaching. But if you've got something that does not need to be fixed, sometimes you don't have to. Like, just roll with it. Sometimes I feel like sometimes my biggest weakness is I'll post a video and I'll be like, oh, it's not doing good, so I'll go and delete it. But I think everybody does that. Like, if you get a video that's not getting any views at all, and you're like, oh, why did I even post this? I'm gonna go delete this. But now I have, with my team, I have people that are like, be consistent. It's okay. If it doesn't reach a huge audience, having two new eyes seeing you makes a big difference. So there's a lot of things where I get in my head, and it's healthy to have people kind of be like, all right, you're getting in your head. You're getting away from who you are a little bit, which is, trying to be grounded, trying to be healthy with social media, and just water off your back, Don't let certain things affect you. Yeah. If that answered your question, I was
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. How has social media strategy changed now that you have a team versus when you're doing it just yourself?
Oh, dude, they're on top of me about posting every single day, which is what I need. Kind of what I was saying. It's a weakness to be like, that didn't do well, so I'm going to take a couple days off or whatever. But they're like, they'll send me ideas sometimes, or they'll just be like, are you going to post today? And I'll be like, I wasn't, but I will now that you're on my case about it. But the strategy now is to just like not really have one. Me and Avery talk about this because she's like, if you're not feeling it, if you're not feeling the videos that you're posting, yeah, go ahead and take a break and step back. But if you're finding that groove and you're finding that you're really giving people you, don't leave that and keep posting in that regard. Keep it close to yourself. Keep it as you possibly can. Because nobody wants to see inauthenticity, Everybody wants to see, because it's such a diluted space now that it's like there's no room for being fake.
Well, we interviewed a runner named Brock Kelly, and he makes a lot of content. He's a runner, business owner, like all kinds of different things. Brock's amazing. When we interviewed him not that long ago, he said something that was very, very poignant to me, and he talked about how in life you have to stop setting hard finish lines and you need to start setting more kind of soft checkpoints. He talks about how if you kind of build up the whatever point B is, if you're at point A and you're trying to get to point B, if you build point B up too much, then one, you don't enjoy the journey. And two, once you get there and you accomplish it, you're just almost completely lost because you just worked and basically spent all of your time trying to get there. Now it's there and you're like, okay, like now what? Obviously, like for you in your situation with you pursuing music and all that stuff, obviously, like it would be naive to believe that there's not this crazy life on the other side of making it, if you will. Like for you to accomplish the goal that you set out to do, like that would require you to kind of be this kind of music star that is known by a lot of people. Like that just kind of inherently is a huge point B, right? That's a huge just finish line in and of its own. How do you not get distracted by that? Like, how do you still enjoy the journey of getting there when that in and of itself could just make anyone super wide-eyed, right?
It is the entertainment industry. Like, you got to entertain in some aspects. Does that mean you have to go be in somebody you're not? No, but does that mean you can lean into certain things and play it? Yeah. It doesn't make it exactly damaging. I don't think, as long as you're not being super, I don't know. Some people really take it to the extreme and really play it up, but it's the entertainment industry. And I think my form of entertainment is being authentic and letting people see me and not try and play into the dramatics as much, or not try to upplay it as much as I possibly can, because I feel like that's kind of just not my thing. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll find an avenue that kind of balances it out. But like I said, there's no real how-to with social media. You just either are entertaining to some folk or you're not.
Are you not worried at all about what could possibly happen to your life if you do end up, not to say that you're not already doing the thing, but obviously, there's kind of levels to this whole game. Like, do you not have any sort of worry about what your life could potentially become if you continue to get bigger and bigger?
Well, here's what I'll say. I never thought when I was in 8th grade, my mom was going to tell me she was diagnosed with breast cancer. I never thought in 2022 my dad would be put on a heart transplant list and given 1 year to live if he didn't get it. Yesterday, I had no idea I would be at the park at the end of the day and sitting there and just watching the people go by or petting the dog that came up to me. It's just so unexpected. Everything is. I never thought I'd be here today with you doing this podcast when we were working for the first time years ago.
Yeah.
There's no point for me. It's good to make goals, of course, short span goals and even long-term goals. It's good to dream, but I don't set such hard expectations on myself because I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee I'll be here tomorrow. I can't guarantee I'll have any sort of career ever out of this. But what I can guarantee is that kid that was going through that in 2022 and that kid that was going through that in 2020 and when I was 17 is me today, and I'm here today. And that kid's still going to be with me 10 years down the line, whatever I'm doing. So as hard as some of these things I've gone through is, I've just realized that there's no point in trying to predict. There's no point in getting super down if I'm not where I thought I would be. Because I hope I'm not where I think I'm going to be in 10 years. I hope it's better than it is, because it usually is. I mean, even though those hard times were super hard, the highs have been high. Yeah. And that's just how I operate. I don't know. I don't try to expect anything.
But do you worry at all about, say, like the fame, for example? You hear nightmare stories left and right of just people who turned famous and they're like, yeah, like it actually ruined my life. Like, yeah. And obviously if you continue down the path that you're on, like that's on the other end of it. Do you not worry about something like that at all?
I wouldn't say so, because I don't think this dream would have been put in my heart if it wasn't for me. To try to capitalize on and try to pursue and try to really engage. And I've always had that, like, I want that community. I don't know. I don't want to be like huge, I don't know anybody wants to be absolutely huge, but I want that. I've always wanted that community, and I don't think I would take it illy. I don't think I would take it and abuse it per se. I just don't see that for myself. I see me enjoying it and me seeing the faces when like I said, I dream, and I'll dream of playing festivals one day. I'll dream of opening for these people that I've always listened to or that helped me through those hard times. And I just see like happiness in my face. I think if I ever get to that point, I'll know what to do with myself. And I'll be grateful, because I'm grateful for where I am now, and I'm not. Who knows? I'm sure the people that it's affected negatively didn't think that it would hit as hard as it did. But everybody's different. Everybody's wired different. I think I know how I'm wired.
So you talk about in September, as recent as that was, that you were working a job and life looked completely different and things have changed so fast. Does that make you think that music is meant for you because it has changed so fast, or is there a world in which it could leave just as fast? Like, are you worried about the dynamics of how quickly things change?
Yeah. I've had anxiety since I was in 8th grade. I remember having to leave football practice because I couldn't breathe. And I'd have to nobody knew it at school, but I'd have to carry a bag with me and go to the bathroom and do breathing exercises just because I was having panic attacks at such a young age. And I've always let that strangle me, let that consume me, that anxiety of what's going to happen. What's going to happen to mom? What's going to happen to my best friend? What's going to happen? And I've learned to really rein that in, and not completely ignore the anxiety, but acknowledge it, acknowledge that it's real, it's there, and so many people deal with it, and so many people think that they're alone, but they're not. And if there was a point where I felt like I was the only person on this earth dealing with this problem, but then growing up, I learned my friends were doing the same thing. They were having such bad anxiety, and it was crippling. And so I've kind of learned to push it down a little bit, but not completely try and get rid of it, because it is a part of me, and I think it's going to stay with me. I don't think it'll ever go away completely, but I think that's okay. I think some things in life, they're remotely, seen as bad, but they are the puzzle pieces of you, and they're the parts of you that have been with you just as much as my love for music has been with me. My anxiety's been with me. It's just a part of me. So when I found myself, bringing it up, bringing that anxiety out, I remember back when I got through what I needed to when it was at its worst. And I'm like, okay, I got through that. I think I'm good. I just take a deep breath, take meds if I need it, and just, rein it in.
Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about something that I've always been kind of deeply curious about, because a lot of people talk about the monetization model of Spotify and the streamers, Apple Music, and all that stuff. Break that down for me. Like, is it really that bad?
Dude, I ain't made enough money to really tell you that the answer to that. So having connections that I've made now and having those talks where it's like sometimes the money, isn't going where it needs to be, or you're not going to get as much money if you do it this way. If you sign this deal, if you trust these people, or, you hear all kinds of things. But I've tried to not let that sway my decision in doing this. Of course, I'll have lawyers look at a contract, but it's you really gotta make sure who you're with is not in to get you. And the great thing about my label now, which I think a lot of record labels are gonna start following in the footsteps of, is they really take good financial care of the artist, which in the past, yes, it's been bad. Or sometimes, even if you're a writer, if it's getting streams, you're getting nothing.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of just become the writer instead of the artist for a little bit there. And then I realized if you're not getting big radio time as a writer, your songs aren't getting radio time, you're just getting streams, you're not getting anything. So there's aspects of it that suck, and that's just how the industry is. I really hope it changes for some writers and some artists in the future. And there's definitely stuff in small fine print that you got to look out for, because it does get bad with certain pages, certain contracts.
But going back to the streamers for a second, do they just objectively just not pay well for the streams?
Not really. I think it's 1/8 of a cent or something.
Yeah, I've
like
heard
that.
something
It's
crazy
ridiculous.
before. There was like 1/8 of a cent per like 10 streams.
It might be even less.
Yeah.
But when I was in high school and I was just producing everything myself and I was writing everything myself, didn't have anybody else to pay out. Being independent was the way to go, financially, for sure. Because I had a lot of traction back then, but there are certain things you just can't do alone. And I want a team now, and I work amazing with my team, and that's what I need now. And that's what I really want. So it's all you got to take what you can get.
So, I mean, not sure, maybe speak generally here, but in this situation you're in now with a team, are you paying people out from what you get, or are you getting paid out from a bigger process? Like, what does that look like?
So I'm currently, I don't even know if I can talk. I'm pretty sure I can. I'm getting a publishing deal, which is I will be writing a certain amount of songs per year and getting paid monthly for it, which is super awesome for me because a lot of artists don't get this opportunity. But my team's amazing and they're getting it down, and it's going to help me big time financially. Because it's cool because if there's a song that I particularly may not want that I wrote, they have my catalog, and I could be like, I don't even, we can shop that around, see if anybody wants to take that, which happens so much.
Really?
Like the biggest artists, shop around for songs, which is cool. I mean, I've never been faced with that yet, like having to take on somebody else's song that somebody else has written. I don't know if I would, but yeah, with some artists with major record deals, get the biggest bang for their buck with certain songs, and they kind of buy some out, which happens a lot. You'll go in like the credits of a song, and you'll see like that artist isn't even in it, and you're like, wow, they didn't even write that. But sometimes that's cool. That's fun. That's not how I operate, but sometimes people just fall in love with the song, and they're like, I want to make that mine, and more power to them. I don't see anything wrong with it as long as the original writers are credited.
In terms of that tour that you went on, was that more of just like a cool opportunity, or?
Dude, I got thrown on that last minute. David threw me on that. He was like, all right, Parmley's going on tour. Have you ever played a show? I was like, no. I've never even sang in front of my mom at Christmas. And he was like, let's get your feet wet. And I was like, oh, pump the brakes. I don't even have an electric guitar. So right after he told me that, I went and bought an electric Martin.
Nice.
But I remember that first show. He was like, you're just going to go out there, play 20 minutes. We were behind stage, behind the curtain, and I could hear people mumbling out there. And I was so nervous, dude. I don't remember a thing. But I was like, David, look out there. Tell me how many people are out there, and just break it to me. I can't even look. And he's like, dude, he looks out. He's like, dude, there's like 20 people out there. They're all by the bar. Like, they're not even paying attention to you. You're good. I was like, whew, took a deep breath, got out there. The lights are in my face, and the place is packed. I mean, there were like 700 people, I think, that were at that show. It was that first show. And where were we? Madison, Wisconsin? Somewhere I'd never been. But I was so nervous I don't remember a thing from that show. I just remember telling people to hold on and bear with me because it might be rough. But then it was all worth it at the end when they were like cheering. I've never been cheered for. It felt really good. I'd be stupid to say that didn't make me feel good, because it did. Yeah. It's awesome.
To kind of wrap all this up, what would you tell younger you?
Younger me?
Yeah. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, knowing all the things about, getting fame kind of early in your life, and having to almost like restart a few times and having to re-navigate all this different stuff, like what would you tell your younger self?
I think I would tell myself to just trust time trust that when things come your way, to not try and dodge them, to not try and, ignore it. Maybe try to approach things healthier, because I didn't all times. Some things I tried to ignore. I'd lock myself in my room. I'd have dinner by myself. Not saying I had to. I would just do it because I thought it was the way to do it. Just kind of ignore the things life is throwing at you. I think I would tell myself to just trust time and let yourself move at the pace you need to. Because time doesn't stop. It's going to keep going. If you stop yourself, you're just a sitting duck, right? So you just got to keep moving with time.
Got anything else?
I feel like that was great. I feel like there's a lot to take away from that.
Cool. I've never done like a podcast or any sort of talking interview.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Glad I got to do it with you guys.
We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, dude. I was stoked about it when you hit me up about it. I was like, yeah, let's please do this. This is awesome.
Okay. Well, tell everyone where they can find you.
Oh, Dylan Davidson everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Oh, Dylan Davidson Music on TikTok, sorry. But yeah, just my name. I don't really have a stage name. I thought that might be inauthentic. But yeah, you can I got a song coming out May 9th, selfless plug. And just be on the lookout for that.
Nice. All the pre-save.
Oh, pre-save, yeah.
I was told that pre-saves are like the number one metric that's like Spotify.
100%. When my label's looking at the music, they're seeing how many people pre-save, and that is a driving factor for a lot of things, playlisting and everything. So engage with the pre-saves and the videos, and yeah, that would help me out a lot.
Nice. Cyrus, bring us home.
Bring us home.
We appreciate you guys listening and hope that you took something away from that. I'm sure that there's a lot of things, not even just in the music world, but just life and just going through challenges and continuing to push forward. But we appreciate you guys listening. This is second guest episode, and we're just going to keep moving forward from here. So if you guys liked what you saw, just give us a like, a follow, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever it is, and we'll see you in the next one. See ya.
Peace.
Peace.